Joining us now is Chuck Rosenberg, former U.S. attorney, former senior FBI official. Chuck, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here tonight.
My pleasure, Rachel.
What do we know about how Mark Meadows did today, how good his case is that his trial should be moved to federal court?
Yeah, so there's a three-part Supreme Court test that's important that I want to talk to you about. In order to get plucked out of state court, as you described, he would have to show that he was a federal official. He was. That part's easy. That he was acting within the scope of his federal authority. That part's hard. And the third piece, Rachel, that he would have a colorable federal defense if the case were moved from state to federal court. And at least for this stage of the proceedings, that part's pretty easy. So let's focus on number two. Was he acting within the scope of his federal authority? I think that's a hard thing for him to show. Chiefs of staff do lots of things, and the chief of a staff to a president, of course, does lots of things. But this was a political effort to thwart a fair and free election. And if Mr. Meadows is going to get tripped up over anything, it's this notion that he was acting within the scope of his federal authority. So he has a plausible claim. It's not a frivolous claim, but I think the judge is going to be skeptical that he meets that second prong to show that he was acting in the scope of his federal authority.
Chuck, why is it that every smart lawyer in the country looking at the news today said that it was shocking that Mark Meadows decided to take the stand and testify, let alone for 5 hours in this hearing?
Yeah, simply because he didn't have to, Rachel. I mean, his side could have tried to meet their burden of proof, and it was their burden of proof today, by putting in affidavits or calling other witnesses. But remember, he's a defendant in a criminal case, and so anything he says can be used against him in that case. That's pretty treacherous. I mean, it's one thing for him to answer questions from his own attorneys. That could be scripted, that could be prepped, that could be tested. It's another thing for him to answer questions on cross-examination, which is precisely what happened. So if prosecutors got something valuable from his testimony today, they could use it against him in a criminal trial. That's what is surprising, that he took the stand at all when he actually didn't have to.
The hearing today did not end with the judge ruling on this motion. The judge has to decide whether or not the case will be removed to federal court, which is what Mr. Meadows is seeking. We'll get that ruling eventually from the judge. If Mr. Meadows succeeds and the case does get moved to federal court, does that mean ultimately, at the end of the day, the whole case is going to get moved to federal court, that all of the other defendants will benefit in the same way that he's trying to here?
Yeah, great question. And I don't think you have enough time in the show for me to explain all of the possibilities, Rachel. But there's two answers, yes and no, right? There's one school of thought that said the other 18 defendants go if Mr. Meadows goes. If one goes, they all go, to put it simply. There's another school of thought, and I think this is probably more likely, that you would determine what happens to each defendant on his or her own merits. Remember, some of them are not even federal officials. Some of them wouldn't have any plausible, colorable federal defense in federal court. So it makes more sense to me that you would determine each one on his or her own merits.
That seems fair. A random state senator or a publicist for a rapper, at least at this point in our country's history, doesn't count as a federal official.